All right, and we're live. Welcome back to another Gutter Fighting Secrets Tactical Podcast. Today's going to be Tactical Podcast number 20 with James Yeager, the man and the legend. For those of you who have been living under a freaking rock and don't know who James Yeager is, he is owner of Tactical Response, and that is a tactical training company, the kind of tactical training company based out in Camden, Tennessee. James served a number of years on the police force. He was a patrol officer, I believe, on the SWAT team as well. And after that, James kind of said F it, and he went over to Iraq as a private contractor working with one of the bigger companies out there. And he came back from Iraq. He learned a lot there. I actually was looking at your videos kind of like when you, I think it was when you just got back, and like see you grow till now has been fascinating. And then after that, you decided to kind of set up a tactical training center for, you know, guys going overseas, doing cool guy tactical.
It wasn't after that. I started my training company in 1996 when I was still a cop.
Okay. And you were training street cops back then?
I was training just like I am now. If you're a good person, you're not a criminal, I'll train you.
All right. So it was after you came back from Iraq that you really started ramping up with contractor courses, though.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So he's, you know, James does all these contractor courses. For those of you guys who don't know, they're badass. They're a week long each. They focus on things like direct action, small unit tactics, CQB, medical stuff, and each pipeline is a week long, highly involved, highly intense. So James, welcome on the podcast. Thanks for coming on, dude.
Hey, did you just hang that certificate up behind you just because I was going to be on here?
Oh, man, I keep that stuff with pride over there, man. So, James, I got to ask you, man, what kind of gave you the inspiration to open up a tactical training center for everybody?
Well, first off, it's got to be for everybody, because before I was ever a contractor, before I was a cop, I was a citizen. I was a freedom-loving, Constitution-reading, Bill of Rights-loving citizen. And so one of the things I tell people even today is don't train with people that have law enforcement only or military only classes. Don't even train with those people. Two reasons. Number one, they're not patriots. Number two, they don't have anything that's any good anyway. All the best stuff is on the civilian side anyway. That's why Delta Force and SEALs, that's why they all go to civilian schools, is because that's where the cutting edge of stuff is always.
You know, I think it's really a cool thing that you mentioned that. And I remember you mentioning that once before, and I kind of nodded my head saying, yeah, you know, that sounds just like right. And, you know, if you don't offer your stuff to civilians, like I've looked at schools before that are like really giving me a hard time and like all this. And mind you, like I'm a firefighter. I don't have any criminal history or anything like that, but they want to give me a real hard time about signing up. And then they want to charge me an exorbitant amount of money to come. And it's not right, man.
Well, the funny thing is they sit around in their circle, you know, basically closed off, inbreeding, and they don't want civilians there because all civilians are crazy, you know. Civilians are on time, are safe, they have good attitudes. You've trained here. At the end of the day, like if the class is over and a student, one of my students looks into his ammo can and there's 3 rounds left, he's like, hey, wait a minute, I still got ammo left, you know.
Yeah.
And I've trained cops, I've trained military guys, and first thing in the morning, all right, guys, let's get started. A hand goes up in the back. Okay, you in the back. What time's class over today? I've never had a civilian ask me that.
You know, it's funny you bring up law enforcement training, and, you know, I don't have official training in like, you know, law enforcement, police work, but I've heard a lot about it from my time at the academy and stuff. And I'm hearing that guys really, they qualify, and then that's kind of it. A lot of guys don't seek out that extra training.
No, but any occupation is the same way. One of my favorite quotes in the world is Heraclitus, who trained soldiers for the Peloponnesian Wars. He said, out of every 100 men they send me, 10 shouldn't even be here. 80 are nothing more than targets. 9 are warriors, and they the battle make. But one will bring them all back, and it is he I must find. You can split up any organization that same way. 10% of cops shouldn't be cops. 80% are just wearing a uniform. 9 are awesome, and 1 is just the baddest motherfucker walking the earth. Firemen, EMTs, school teachers, I don't care. They fall into those parameters. And so what I see at my place are the 9s and the 1s that come to train with me.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the guys that typically show up, especially for the contractor courses, but general courses as well, fighting pistol, fighting rifle. The guys are usually pretty squared away, and the ones who aren't quickly get squared away. And that's always fascinating to see as well. The guys that come in there and they need a little extra help. It's tough love for sure from the other guys, but they get their stuff together like
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you want to improve, that's what's great about this culture, because not only will the instructors help you, the students will also say, hey, dude, get your shit together. Make sure you're on time, tie your shoes, whatever the case may be. And kind of like you said, it's kind of a tough love thing, but, this is an adult thing. What we do is dangerous. And so it's kind of one of those, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, sometimes it takes a village to get somebody's shit squared away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, speaking of the dangerous aspect of it here, I mean, we do a lot of live fire. You guys do a lot of live fire over at CAC Response. Have you ever had anybody kind of come to you and say, well, maybe that's too dangerous, maybe you should slow it down? And what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, I say, yeah, it's dangerous. They're guns. We can never be safe, ever. We can be careful. And that's what I train my students to do, to be very careful. But we can't be safe. Safe is this fictitious thing. We're not safe in our car. We're not safe in our home. Like, you're never safe, but you can be cautious. You can be careful. And that's what we do. We are cautious and we are careful. And but these are dangerous things. I mean, show me a group of carpenters who's never hit their thumb or cut off a finger with a saw or whatever the case may be. Like, those things do happen. They're terrible. We've had 3 students shoot themselves over the years. Nobody got seriously injured. Matter of fact, none of them even bled. But every shooting school has had somebody shoot themselves. I'm the only one that talks about it, though, because I want people to go, it might be your turn. It might be my turn today. And so, but anyway, what we do is dangerous. And so no matter what we do, somebody's always going to point to it and say that's dangerous. I mean, like I'll turn 50 this year. When I was a kid, if you would have worn a helmet on a bicycle or a skateboard, you'd have got rocks thrown at you by the other kids, But now kids wear helmets. They should. Kids should wear helmets, But it's a different world. And what you're, as a fireman, what you do is dangerous. This house is on fire and you're walking in there with a water hose. That's like fighting a dragon with a squirt gun, But it's fucking dangerous. But,
yeah, no, absolutely. And it brings a good point up is that, look, if you're really that concerned about your safety and being, so dangerous, you probably shouldn't be in a high-risk civilian contractor course in the first place, or, really training to go to battle and go to, fight with a gun if you're that concerned. But you guys are, I did notice, like, extremely tough with the muzzle discipline. Like, if you got one guy messing around, all the guys are going to jump on and say, watch your muzzle. So, I've been to, I think, 4 of your contractor courses so far, and I've, knock on wood, I've never seen anything other than professionalism there. So,
well, like in your particular classes, we've never done it, but there's been a few cases over the years where we warned somebody a few times about finger or muzzle, and we take their rifle away from them and give them a blue gun. I mean, and like, we still want to train them, but like, and number one, it is to embarrass them, because that's how this works. We're in a man's world, and that's how it works. But number two, if they start waving the muzzle of that blue gun around, they get ejected from the class. Mm-hmm. So it's their last chance to start handling it right. And if they start handling it correctly, then we give them a real gun back.
That's a good idea. Now, I want to circle back real quick to your time in Iraq, dude. What in the freak spurred you to say, I want to go to Iraq as a PMC, private military contractor?
I'm in the training community. It's a relatively small community. And I got asked by a friend, hey, I know some guys looking for some guys. I recommended you. He's going to be calling you. My phone rings. Hey, do you want to go do this? Yeah. And let's kind of look back at that time frame. It's 2004. I was a cop on duty when 9/11 happened, and watched the second plane hit the tower. This was the most ominous police transmission I ever got. They called my number. They said, "Are you near a television?" "No." "Find one." Okay, And so I saw the second tower fall, and so like a lot of Americans with men want to do something. So I got the opportunity to go, and I thought, well, I'll go do that. And so I did it. At the time, I was hanging out with the 5th Special Forces Group a bunch, training those guys. And I asked those guys, and I said, hey, do you think I should go be a contractor? Do you think I possess the traits that would be good for that job? And they all said yes. And so I went.
I really like that you reached out to those guys and asked them, hey, do you think I have what it takes to do this? That says something. I think a lot of guys out there like to think that they have what it takes, and I'm sure to some degree we all do, but it really takes something a little bit different to go ahead and actually go into a war zone, especially doing it that way. Now, that's kind of James Bond stuff, man. I mean, you guys were kind of out on your own, I think, right?
Yeah, it's various levels of the Old West. We lived inside the green zone, which people would say, oh, that place was safe, but we got rocketed and mortared all the time. So I don't know what safe means to those people if mortars are literally landing in your yard. But we would venture out and go to do different things. We protected the 8 Iraqi election commissioners before, during, and after the election. If you could imagine if you could split Iraq into 8 different geopolitical states, these people were kind of like the governors for me. Mm-hmm. And so during the election process, we would go back and forth to these places for meetings and stuff like that. So it was pretty crazy.
What did you take away, and what could you tell other guys out there from your time in Iraq that what it might be like as far as, we're in the middle of this pandemic right now. If society started breaking down a little bit, do you think it would be similar?
Well, in general, if I had to describe policing, firework, contracting, I would if we zoom out, I would say days, weeks, and months of complete boredom and seconds of sheer terror.
Yeah.
It's like I'm bored. Ah, okay. And so that's kind of that life,
Okay.
And but as far as like what would happen here, we want to think that we're very intellectual and we're very cerebral and we're above that, but when your neighbors' kids' stomachs are distended because they're starving to death, they'll burn your house down to get a bowl of rice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a scary thought to think about, man. I really hope that, and I'm sure of it actually, that we won't have to see that this time around in America. But it gives you kind of pause to stop and think about, well, hey, do I have the skill sets I need should something like that ever transpire? And a lot of us out there now are kind of second guessing it and saying, well, shit, maybe I really do need to get a little bit more training if something like that ever were to happen.
What's funny is, because we have a lot of cops that come here and train and stuff like that, and one of the things that is kind of a common thread with these guys is their supervisors are always like, oh, you're going to get more training. You must want to shoot somebody. Well, the more training you get, the less likely you are to shoot somebody, for a couple of reasons. Number one, because you're competent, it increases your confidence, but also you learn tactics. Like you don't get out in the open where like, oh my God, I got to shoot this guy. You stay behind cover, things like that. So I would tell anybody that didn't want to shoot somebody to get better at shooting people.
Yeah, that's a good explanation of that there, actually. It makes complete sense. And also, just for your own personal safety, like if you are involved in a gunfight, I feel like the more training you actually have, the better off, you're going to be able to come out of that. And the people around you are going to be able to come out of that as well. Because after all, the guys and girls going into your classes, man, I think generally speaking, 9 times out of 10 want to, they are protectors. They are that alpha mentality that want to help others and their family members stay safe.
So like, I saw a martial arts t-shirt one time that said, the more I train, the luckier I am.
Huh.
And I believe that. And I believe what training does is it lets you recognize opportunities that other people wouldn't recognize because they haven't experienced that. And so what I would tell anybody is, like, training, no matter what we're talking about, it doesn't matter if it's firefighting or MMA or whatever, training makes you lucky because it's experiential and you start seeing opportunities that other people do not see.
And you bring up an interesting topic here as far as martial arts. And I've heard you say before that what you guys do as far as the firearms, that's a martial art. I mean, there's no really way around it. Yeah. It's kind of, I think about it like the samurai used to use jiu-jitsu and they'd use swords. Now we use jiu-jitsu when we use long arms, right? Same kind of concept. Now, also, something I want to ask you about, man, is repetition. How important is repetition in training?
I assume you mean like practicing physical skills. Like, is that what you mean?
Yeah, physical skill sets as far as your draw, your punches, whatever it may be.
Of course, it's important. Bruce Lee, and I forget the exact numbers, so forgive me, but Bruce Lee said, "Don't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. Fear the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times." And so I would tell you that there's not that many like skills with a gun or whatever. It's like basically what do we do to them? We load them, we reload them, type 1, 2, 3 malfunction, and draw. That's pretty much it. So practice that stuff a lot, and you'll probably do fine.
Is there value in going to a school, even though you may have mastered the basics or think you've mastered the basics? Is there value in taking basic or beginner courses over again?
Yeah, take them with the other hand. Take them one-handed. Take them one-handed. Like if you are looking to attain mastery, the path is apparent. If you're looking to shoot and make little groups and make yourself feel better, there's no path in front of you at all.
So what you guys are doing, and I mean, obviously is a little bit different, a lot different than, shooting at paper and putting those little groups in them.
We teach gunfighting. This is not a shooting school.
Yeah, you guys are teaching martial arts with the gun.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what is your opinion on this current pandemic going around here? And I don't want to open a can of worms or anything, but
no can of worms.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I'm more afraid of. I'm with Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death. Pandemic or not, I don't like the authorities saying we can't leave our house and stuff. That really bothers me. The pandemic's real. People are really dying from it. You should really wash your hands. You should really limit your social interactions. But at the end of the day, I'm not giving up the Constitution and Bill of Rights because of a virus.
Now, you talk a lot about liberty on your channel, sometimes even during class, and I think that that's great, man. Do you think that when a government does this and kind of starts eroding liberties a little bit with the whole stay-at-home order that, look, it's typically kind of hard to get those liberties back? Is that kind of what you're concerned about?
It's not only is hard to get back. This is a test run. So when they try it the next time, they go, listen, we did it last time for 30 days. And nobody fought us over it. Then the next time it's 3 months. The next time it's a year. Then the next time it's permanent. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that potentially this is a practice run to see how we will accept the chains. And I'm not trying to sound like a wacko, but like we had 4 cases, then 3, then 2, and this week we have 1. But this week starting Monday, our county mayor declared us a state of emergency to get federal funding.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
I mean, I think when it comes down to it, man, I mean, it's such a fine line between, civil liberties and freedom, and then doing what you got to do. I know in New York, for example, it's freaking bad right now, but when I've heard a lot of guys say that, and a lot of guys I respect say that, is that it's maybe kind of a dry run. And I think it is interesting that we had all of this stuff going on politically throughout the world, in Europe, in Asia, Hong Kong protests, all of that. Then this thing comes along and boom, it's all quiet and it's kind of tightened down. So
that thing in Hong Kong just disappeared.
Right. Now, what do you think I am kind of convinced, to be honest with you, that this thing didn't come from a wet market. It might have came from a lab.
Well,
Any opinion?
well, what's being reported right now by Fox News is it's unconfirmed, but it came from the Wuhan virus factory, and that China may or may not have let it go on purpose to stifle our economy.
See, that's what I've been saying the whole time, man. And my brother's an economist. He says, "Oh, you're full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about." Maybe I'm not an economist, but it makes logical sense to me, man.
I don't know. That shit's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I'm more disappointed in my government than I am the Chinese government right now, because I expect them to be shitholes.
Yeah. Now, what can we do as far as preparing for the next one of these? Maybe it's not a pandemic, but whatever it is.
Dude, I do videos on, preparing for disasters and stuff like that. And I don't know what the next thing will be, but I know that my family will need food, water, and shelter. And so I would encourage folks to have at least 30 days worth of supplies in their house. And the great thing for us, if we try to look at the positive side of this, Americans have pretty much been locked away for 30 days now. They have a more realistic idea of what they really use now, what they really need now on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And hopefully now with this in their hindsight, they will be able to have more that be better prepared for the next time they have to be held up for 30 days.
So you're saying I don't need 12 pallets of toilet paper?
Well, like I said, I think they'll figure out what they need,
Right.
and so I thought the toilet paper thing. I thought I'm like, you got 10 days worth of toilet paper and 2 days worth of food.
Yeah, these people will all be dead around their pallets of toilet paper. So I want to circle back around to your courses that you guys are still training people, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Just finished a fighting pistol class, like literally 3 hours ago.
Oh, nice. Now, what about your contract courses? The next ones are scheduled for the fall. Do you know which ones you're running yet?
I mean, they're on the schedule, but
yeah.
We taught 5,000 something people last year. Like I know that there's not a class tomorrow.
Right, gotcha. Yeah. Now, as far as your contractor courses, because I know a lot of guys are fascinated with this, I get a lot of questions about these. Can you give us kind of a breakdown, a little bit about like the history of it? When did you guys start it? What kind of things are guys going to learn when they come to them?
Well, I mean, basically the history of it is, before I went to Iraq, I looked all over scoured the internet, et cetera, and I couldn't find any information about contracting. Couldn't find it. And so two things happened when I came back, and there was no training course you could go to. So two things happened when I came back. I wrote a book about contracting, and if anybody wants to read it, it's on Amazon. And then number two is I started doing classes, and the classes were built around the skills that I thought people needed to go do that job in an active combat zone. And so there's the shooting and medical and CQB and all that stuff. And I don't know, I don't want to bore folks with it, but the descriptions are on our website. But basically, it is not only the skills, those actual skills, but what you understand now is we make people live as a team. And so like that really is the biggest part of not the biggest, but it's 50% of the class, cohabitating folks in a small area, and they can't leave. They got to stay together. 2-man groups are the smallest that can go anywhere. And they have to live together with the farting and the snoring and and who left the toilet lid up or whatever, that's valuable. Like that's valuable beyond what most people can understand. And that's one of the big parts of the class that really is kind of overlooked. And then also this other thing that's kind of just injected into the class is the leadership and the delegation of authority and duties to the team members. As you've been a part of that, and you're held accountable. If you're the guy that takes care of this, you had better do that. Your teammates will not be happy if you did not do the thing you were supposed to do, because you're doing it for everybody, while they're doing their thing for everybody. And so those things, no matter if it's a sniper class or whatever the case, shooting package or whatever, that's the thing that's intangible, is that living together and the delegation of authority that's part of every class. And I think that's what really makes it different. Like for everybody listening, the class, it's a 5-day class. It starts Sunday evening, begins at 6 p.m. Sunday evening, and it's one class 24 hours a day until after the final exercise on Friday. It's one. It's not like, okay, we'll go home now. Like, it's one thing all the way through. And the sniper class, that's the one I get asked all the time. People say, how far do you shoot in your sniper class? I go, this is not the class for you. They go, what do you mean? Well, obviously you want to shoot long range, and you think that being a sniper is shooting long range. That's not what we do. Well, then what do you do? They have no concept of what sniping is. Shooting from a concealed position. So stalks and hides and mission planning, and all the things that go along with actually doing a sniper run is that class, including a 36-hour mission, like where the guys stay in the field for 36 hours completing a mission for their final exercise. It's you haven't done sniper yet, have you?
I did not have the opportunity yet.
So the ones you've done are all loud. This one's really quiet. Your final exercise is boom, pow, and all that.
And that final X was badass, man. The fireworks and all that. Yeah.
The sniper one is shh.
Uh-huh. That's something I definitely want to get a part of as soon as I can get some time, man. Like, I'm looking forward to that one. And I've been to a number of schools, man. And what makes your guys different is, number one, the mission planning at night, like in the team room. And, you alluded to that, but really, it's hard to get kind of a grasp on how it really is until you're there. But, after having attended, I think it was a 2-week back-to-back, it was SUT, small unit tactics, and direct action. I came back home, and my girlfriend said she noticed kind of a remarkable difference in my personality. And that was just due to, I think, living with very professional warriors. And there was guys there generally in your classes who have been to Iraq, who have done it, and whatever. It really rubs off on you and just gives you kind of a new edge afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's why I like being a part of this, is because, like, if I have a day where I'm like, oh man, I'm just not feeling very motivated today, when everybody shows up, you've been here, when everybody shows up, they're like ready to go. Oh, it's hard for me to not be enthusiastic when everybody around me, it's infectious, And so people ask me, how do I stay, enthusiastic about the classes? I go, I don't have to. You guys deliver that every day.
Man, how does it feel to be able to do what you love, like day in and day out?
Dude, I am the luckiest motherfucker on the face of the earth, because the old saying is, well, if you could do whatever you wanted, if you were independently wealthy and you could do whatever you wanted, well, just do that for what you would do for a living, and
right.
This is what I would do if this whole thing fell apart and I was flipping burgers at McDonald's. I would say to somebody like, hey, anybody want to go shooting this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, it's badass, man. Now, I want to circle back real quick to your old Blackwater days, man. And I
didn't work for Blackwater.
Okay.
I was on a Department of Defense contract.
Okay. So they would have gotten, the Blackwater guys would have gotten some kind of pre-deployment training, or maybe not.
Man, it varied back then. And again, within a lot of companies like Blackwater, there were different tiers of dudes. There were dudes that got hired that were right out of the SEALs, and they did like really very pointed stuff. And then there were guys that got hired that were jailers or dispatchers or bouncers that were like security guards around a building, perimeter security guard. Like that. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any of those people, but you as a leader, you assign people based on their talents and experiences. And so when there's something like that's going on, I mean, keep in mind, like at some points they were like, they needed, 1,000 people a month to do jobs over there. And so you run out of Delta Force guys and it feels pretty quick when you're hiring 1,000 a month. So,
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if it was you or one of your instructors that was talking about their time there when there was guys came over and lied about their resume.
Oh,
yeah. That's got to be weird working with those guys, man.
Yeah, that gets you in trouble for sure.
Yeah, okay. It's and it brings it back though to that kind of team dynamic of learning how to live with morons, learning how to work with them. It's a really important part, I think, of being a warrior is learning how to work with people who aren't warriors.
Yeah, it definitely is the finesse part of being a warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just such an overlooked thing. And I think a lot of us during this quarantine who are living with other people, maybe other couples, whatever it is, family members, especially for guys like you and I and our viewers, man, is, we're warriors, but other people just have no clue about this stuff. It can get challenging, to say the least.
Yep, indeed. And I mean, keep in mind, this is, back in the frontier days, this would have been cabin fever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the likelihood of a frontiersman killing his wife before winter was over was super high.
Huh. I don't doubt that, man.
That's what cabin fever means. The dude killed his old lady.
I never knew that. Huh.
Yeah.
Now you bring up about, our old days in America, some would say our glory days, about the frontier and stuff. People were hard back then, dude. People it wasn't like today. I don't want to use the term, but like the snowflakes running around today crying about everything. I know you say a lot about the snowflakes and stuff, but what would you say to guys out there who are living in areas, LA, the coasts in general, who want to kind of maybe break free from that? What would you say?
Break free from what?
Maybe be able to go out and start a new life somewhere like Tennessee, Arizona, some free part of the state. Would you just say, fuck it, just go?
Well, a lot of times I hear people say, and we've all heard this, some people like having a shit day. They go, I'm getting the fuck out of this town. Everybody here sucks, and this fucking town is terrible. It's actually that person that sucks.
Mm.
It's not the town. It's like you're a shitbird and you hang out with shitty people. I don't think that changing your geographic location will change much about you. I think that you have to do that yourself. And I would tell any young man that feels like he's trapped in fucking wherever, fucking join the military. Fucking do something like go be a fucking rodeo clown. Like do something where there's fucking men around, and fucking like tough motherfuckers and be like them, I don't know, man. It's a tough world for sure.
So you're not one of the ones out there who says we need all of the freedom-loving patriot types to go to, freedom-loving patriot type states. You think maybe people should be able to stand their ground in the state where they are?
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I know people say like, Jersey or New York or California, oh, it's lost. Okay, but like if that's my home,
Right.
there are people living on ranches in California. That's their ancestral home. That their family's been on that ranch for 200 fucking years. I ain't fucking leaving if I'm that guy.
Yeah.
They can build their damn Starbucks all around me. I'm gonna stay here.
So, would you go back to being a contractor again? Like if another war broke out?
Well, I mean, I'll be 50 this year. That I might be pushing the geriatric on that. Although there was people over there, that were older than 50, but I mean, it would certainly be interesting to go back and do something like that again. But it's a young man's game, and that's one of the things. Like I said, I'll be 50 this year. It's one of the things that I have to be at ease with as I get older. Is I'm a grandpa now, and I'm not 20 something. I'm not as strong, as flexible, as fast as I used to be. Reflexes aren't as sharp as they used to be. And I'm not ready to, bury myself yet. But we have to be realistic about who we are. And, but if I got an opportunity to go over there to help manage a group of people, I think I could be a good manager, or even a trainer, but actually getting out there and doing it, it'd be tempting for sure. But I believe that's a younger man's game.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, I really firmly believe that we need guys that aren't over the hill yet or anything, but have that life experience, that training experience to be able to give to us. It is kind of a young man's game. What would you say to guys out there who, still want to be contractors, still want to live those cowboy days in Iraq?
Well, first thing, I get emails all the time. Hey, I'm 14 and I want to be a contractor. What should I do? I tell them all, join the military. Like, Like they're all looking to go around some kind of service.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the cool guy shit. Hey, you don't get to do the cool guy shit. You got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
Fucking end of story. So, I'll tell you this. Anytime there's a conflict anywhere, they're always going to want to be medics. So if you're a paramedic with at least a couple of years experience, especially in some place with a high call volume, you go to the front of the line.
Mm.
I mean, that's experience that it's you can't buy. So let me read a quote, if I may, real quick.
Absolutely.
The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders, and they love to chatter in place of exercise. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their household. They no longer rise when an elder enters the room. That was Socrates.
Huh.
Kids have always been fucked up.
Yeah, that puts things into perspective a little bit for us. You know, the times change, but people don't so much. Now, what's next for Tactical Response? You guys have been growing, and you guys will continue to grow. I know that what you're doing.
Well, actually, I'm trying to not grow. Like the year before, we had 6,300 students, and I told Maryland, who works for me, to bring it down. Last year, we had 5,000, and this year I'm looking for like 4,500 because I'm 50, and I can't just teach 10,000 people a year and then die. I mean, so I'm not closing up or anything, but I want to have a long-term plan. I probably shouldn't be teaching past 65. We'll just call it 60. So I'm looking to kind of narrow things down to 65.
Huh. Interesting. All the more reason for guys to get the hell out there and train with you while things are still ramped up, man. How can guys get in touch with you? This is tacticalresponse.com. The links are going to be down.
Well, here's what I tell people. If you're too stupid to find me, I don't want your money.
Okay.
I know that, and I've been on a lot of these things, and this is the part where I tell them where to find my videos and podcasts and all that stuff. And I don't ever do that because if they are not the kind of person that's motivated enough to hit a Google search bar and take 3 seconds to search something, you don't want them in your contractor class.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them coming to train with me. And so, and if I throw a little insult in there, if you're too lazy or too stupid to find me, I don't want your money. When dudes like you hear that, you kind of giggle a little bit. That's the kind of guy I want to come train with me. I don't want some snowflake to who I just hurt their feelings. Mm-hmm. I want to get that shit out of the way right now. But I'll tell anybody that runs a business, there's a book called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And he said, you spend 80% of your time fucking with 20% of your clients. Fire them. That's what I use the internet for, to fire prospective customers. You've been to several of my classes. The rate of buttholes being there is tiny.
Yeah, and at this point, man, you can afford to be very selective of who you want to
train. I've always been that way. I don't ever want to train assholes.
Well, I don't want them in the classes either. So good job, thank you, man. Yeah. Bro, I gotta say, man, I really appreciate again you coming on. And I really appreciate, what you guys are doing out there as well.
Yeah, man. It's my pleasure.
So I'm going to conclude this interview. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I know James has got a lot of stuff, he needs to do and everything, but I want you guys to please remember that you are your first and last line of defense, and I'll catch you on the next Tactical Podcast. James, thank you so much again.